Hello everybody! Today we'll be talking about the web content production process and how to optimize it. We'll start by outlining the most frequent content production issues and how they affect agency business. Then we'll jump into a hands-on demonstration of how Kentico Draft helps to bring web projects to completion sooner. Every company wants to run a smooth operation, and we all know the pains and costs once web design projects take longer than originally expected. It's a challenge to stick to web design project schedules as they can get delayed for so many reasons. But the most frequent issue that breaks project schedules is delayed content delivery. There are several factors leading to late content delivery. The most obvious one is bad timing when content production starts later in the project, usually after the CMS has been configured. Unfortunately, this almost always results in missed deadlines. But when we start producing content sooner, way before the CMS is set up or even before HTML templates have been designed, we can buy ourselves more time for content production. But we still need to be aware of the issues that can eat up all that time. For example, if you use documents and spreadsheets to produce your content, you could end up with a mess of files stored in multiple locations, multiple formats, and multiple versions. It takes extra time to collect the content and unify it into a single format. Needless to say, with all these files all over the place, it is impossible to tell who is currently working on what and when it's all supposed to be done. You can only guess whether everything will be delivered on time. On top of that, when you do manage to get content done with docs, there is still the extra work of copying and pasting it from the docs into the CMS. Everyone has their own pace, but we have found that it takes about 30 minutes on average to copy and paste content from docs into a CMS. Multiplying that by a typical 80 pages per website can add a week to your timeline. After realizing how all these problems could be eliminated, we decided to build Kentico Draft. Kentico Draft provides you with a single space for web content production where everyone on your team can create content that is neatly structured, aligned with your content strategy, available for review by all relevant parties, and delivered on time. By preventing project delays, Draft helps agencies optimize project timelines to take on multiple projects at one time. It also gives managers an overview of the content production process and clarifies the content delivery schedules for everyone involved. When you use Kentico, you can even automatically import the approved content into the CMS later on. Now, let's take a look at how Draft works. I'm going to show you how you can prepare a content inventory, invite everyone on the team to contribute, and watch the work progress from the very early stages of the project. We'll go through the process step by step to create some content together and then import it automatically into Kentico. I will demonstrate the benefits of Kentico Draft to you with the help of our Dancing-Go demo website. It's a site offering coffee and accessories. Let's say a client requested you to redesign this website, and this is the result of the project. Apart from many other things to be done, new content also has to be delivered for this site, and let's say you used Kentico Draft to manage that process. At the early stage of the web design project, you and your team agree upon a content strategy and the information architecture. In the case of this Coffee Beverages Explained article, you have agreed upon a general structure for articles, such as that each article will be composed of a title, post date, teaser image, and body copy. And maybe you've agreed upon some additional content requirements, like voice and tone guidelines or content limitations. Basically, all these instructions are aimed at helping contributors produce more engaging content. So the first thing we do is capture all this information by creating a content type in Kentico Draft. Let me switch to Kentico Draft now. What you can see is a list of the different content types that are used in our project. We use them to outline the structure and instructions for all of our content. I'll select the article content type and show you its structure. When you create a content type, you put together smaller content elements such as rich text and date and time to match the content structure and guidelines you've already settled on with your client. In the case of our article, we've used a guidelines element to include instructions that will appear on for all articles. Furthermore, we've picked a text element for our title, an asset element for our teaser image, a date and time element for our post date, and a rich text element for our body copy. On top of that, we've added 2 taxonomy elements, article category and persona, to label this content's purpose. As you can see, we've included additional guidelines for each content element so that authors have clear instructions at hand before writing a word. Working with content structure is really easy, as you can add a new element by dragging and dropping it, and you can also rearrange elements or delete them. Defining content types is the first step towards creating your content inventory. The next is to provide authors with a means of categorizing content to make it easier for them to find the content they should be working on. That's why you can define a sitemap in Kentico Draft. Let me now show you how you can do that. Here is the sitemap that we have already made for Dancing Goat. It basically copies the structure of the sitemap on the web. In Kentico Draft, this sitemap is useful for categorizing and filtering content. It is really easy to manipulate and create new items in here. For example, let's create a new roasters item and place it where it belongs. In addition to sitemap, there is another way to categorize your content in Kentico Draft. If you need to group content at multiple levels, you can create multiple taxonomy groups to manage similar content. Here are our taxonomy groups, each of which can have a hierarchy of items. Let me show you how you can create or edit the personas taxonomy group so that you can manage content that is relevant to a particular audience. You can quickly add a taxonomy item, for example a coffee gig item, and you can see that adding an item is as easy as it was with the sitemap. Now that we are nearing the end of configuring our draft space, there is one last step to set up. We'll configure a workflow that matches our process. Let me now switch to workflow settings. You can customize workflow easily to fit your content production process. For example, you may want to have your SEO specialist check content before it gets approved by the manager. So let's create a new SEO verified step and move it to where the actual action takes place, just after the Ready for Review step. And let's also make it yellow. Once you have the workflow set up, it will help you see the progress of work of each content item. And that's it for a quick setup of the Kentico Draft space. Now it's time to invite some people. After you invite contributors to your team, you'll be able to assign content items to them. Let's now switch to the content inventory that your team is working on. You can see the progress on each content item and when it's due. You can refine the content items you see by filtering them by any of several criteria. For example, you can display only items that are under a certain workflow status or items that have a specific contributor assigned to them. What's also nice about the content inventory is that you can make bulk changes to your content items. For example, you can change workflow steps or delete multiple items at one go, which saves a few more minutes of your valuable time. Now, let's create a new empty article and then assign it to a colleague who will contribute to it. I'll create a new content item that will be based on our article content type. You can see here that this article has the structure we defined before with all the guidelines and instructions included. To assign this article to someone, we will fill in its name, set its location in the sitemap so other contributors can find it, and then update the workflow. You can change the item's workflow step, but let's stick with draft for now. Then you can assign the task to Lucas. Of course, you can assign the item to multiple people at one time. If we wanted, we could also provide further instructions for specific article. For example, keep the voice and tone informal. Finally, we set a due date so that everyone on the task is notified when the deadline is approaching. Then we'll confirm this action. So now when contributors come to work on content, they will see the same intuitive interface. The authoring experience is designed to be similar to other tools that authors are used to working with, so there is no need for additional training for your content team, and they can dive right in. For example, Our rich text editor offers essential editing and formatting features, as well as showing you the amount of characters that have been written. But one thing the editor does extra compared to other editors is that it removes all unnecessary styles from copied and pasted text and leaves the markup clean. That makes it usable in various publishing systems later on. Like I mentioned before, one of the benefits of Kentico Draft is that the entire content production process can happen in a single location. Let me show you how the whole team can collaborate on getting content ready on time. For example, you can discuss each content piece individually. Let me select some text and comment on it. Once the discussion is over and you've agreed on all requirements, you can easily mark it as resolved. You can leave comments in the same way for assets. If you wish to have a discussion about a content item as a whole, you can do it over here on the right panel. In addition to in-place conversations, we've included features that help you review other people's work. As all content changes are saved automatically, we provide content revisions where you can see a history of updates of each content item. This gives you a complete overview of who has updated what and when. You can go through each revision and see how a content item looked at a particular point in time. And of course, you don't need to worry about cases when a contributor accidentally overwrites content, as you can always restore any previous revision. As we've just seen, with Kentico Draft, you can keep the whole creative cycle under control, and all that can be done early in the project, while the rest of the website is being developed separately. Once the site has been developed and all of the content has been approved, we are ready to pull the content into the site. Let me go back to our content inventory, where we have some articles that have already been approved for importing. Now, let me switch to Kentico to walk you through the import process. This is a Kentico instance with our dancing goat site that has been developed already. We'll now go to the Pages application to see where our articles will be imported. We'll import the articles under our Articles parent page. As you can see, there are no articles yet. To import them, let me now open the Kentico Draft import module, which we have already installed with this Kentico instance. Here is our entire content inventory we prepared in Kentico Draft. First, we filtered the inventory to get only those articles that are under the Article Sitemap node and have been approved for importing. I will import them all at once as child pages of our Articles page. So I select the articles, and I click Import as subpages. And now, there are a few simple things I will configure to import all of the approved articles. First, let's select the location in Kentico page tree where these articles should be imported. They'll get imported as child pages of the Articles page. Now, you can choose the culture in which the child pages will be created. We'll go for English, United States, as this is our project's default. Now, let's pick a Kentico page type that matches the structure of the article in Kentico Draft. In our case, it's going to be the article page type, which we set up before in Kentico. And finally, I will map Draft's content elements to Kentico's page type fields, so that Draft's content type matches Kentico's page type, and all the articles are imported cleanly. Since we have given both content elements and page fields similar names, it's easy to match one to the other. Next, we can choose the taxonomy group that we want to import as category. The import module will automatically create a new category if it doesn't exist. This category will then be auto-assigned to newly created pages. Last but not least, we can also choose a media library where our assets will be imported. Once we are done with that, we can simply hit Import and see what happens. Well, the import went smoothly, but let's do a quick check of what has actually been imported. I will open the Pages application. As you can see, the Kentico Draft import module has automatically created a page for every single article. When we take a look at one of them, we can see how everything got imported. This import process saves a lot of time and can significantly streamline your content production timeline. To wrap things up, with Kentico Draft, you are able to collect and produce content in the cloud right from the early stages of website projects. Everyone in your team can deliver content on time and in the structure that will be required by other publishing platforms later on. In terms of integration capabilities, we currently provide a custom module for Kentico and public REST API, which makes it usable with other CMSs. With all of its features, Kentico Draft enables you to shorten your content production process, save money, and use your time to work on more projects. That's it for today. Thank you for watching the Kentico Draft demo. If you have any questions or feedback, feel free to drop us a line at draft@kentico.com or visit www.kenticocloud.com. We'll be more than happy to discuss with you how Kentico Draft can help you to optimize your content production process.